Okay, so things have been quite busy for me lately, and I only see them getting more so over the next month. So I will put out videos as I can fit them in. I have given quite a bit of information already for you to practice if you so choose. However, I do need to give this final component on how to manifest your magic, which is one of, if not the most important component. Because people can use just this and will be able to manifest things into their life. And I'm talking about strength, so let's take a look at the strength card, number 8. Just as in the magician card, we see that she has the infinity symbol over her head, representing the influence of the divine with which she is able to subdue the mighty lion. On the tree of life, the path of strength connects the sephirots of Hest and Gevurah, or the spheres of Jupiter and Mars. Now, the thing to understand about the sephirots in the tree of life is that you can study it your entire life, and people do, and still come up with more correspondences and meanings to things, because there's so much embedded into them. It's like astrology. The planets themselves don't represent just one thing. They represent and rule over a multitude of things and correspondences. And these are things you need to write down and keep track of as you come across them, by keeping your own intuitive catalog. The books are good for starters, but you're going to come across things more and more on your own through your own intuitive spirit. So when most people think of the Sephiroth Hest, the sphere of Jupiter, they think of benevolence and mercy. It's on the pillar of mercy. Courtrooms, higher law, all these correspondences. But we want to focus on the correspondence directly related to manifestation. And that correspondence is faith. And this is one instance of where a belief in the divine is going to be to your advantage. Although it's not required, because you could simply have a belief in magic or any higher forces at work. Doesn't really matter, because belief is not faith. Belief backs up the faith, but belief itself is not faith. To believe is not to know. It's like a best guess. Faith is entirely something different, and it's very misunderstood. There are a lot of people who don't have faith in their own beliefs. Now, you may have read a book or two on magic where they talk about performing things in the moment as if it's already happened to you, and this is to get you in the practice of faith. Faith is certainty, the purpose of which is to set it and forget it. And we already talked about the importance of getting the conscious mind out of the way, and faith will allow you to be able to do that. If you already know and have certainty of the outcome, then there's really no reason to dwell on or think about it, is there? It is as it is. Do not underestimate the power of faith. It is the single most important component you can put into your magic, aside from making an impression upon the subconscious. Because Sephiroth number 4 is as high as you're going to be able to get without crossing the abyss. It is the highest law. This is why law is associated with Sephiroth 4, with Hest, with Jupiter. Jupiter rules religion as well as faith itself. It is the greater benefit in astrology. Those who employ faith correctly can manifest many things, because starting at Sephiroth number 4, it will eventually trickle down all the way into Malkuth and manifest. They can start with an idea in Kether, a need for something. They'll pray for that need, which is directing their will to the subconscious. So they've employed Sephiroths 1, 2, and 3, and then they have the faith to back that up, and the rest of it just trickles down and manifests. So the higher laws always trump the lower laws. So you need to begin to practice faith, which sounds easy, but it's actually quite difficult to get into a habit of setting it and forgetting it, to have absolute certainty in these forces that you cannot see. which is why atheists and people of non-belief will have a far more difficult time with faith. I mean, just in general. And we had talked about how the conscious mind always wants to project onto other things. Those with belief are able to do just that, to allow for the doors of faith to be opened. Whereas those who have difficulty believing in anything will have nothing to project onto. Therefore, it's harder for faith to be established. Okay? So now we need to move on to Sephiroth number 5. And this in relation to manifestation. The Sephiroth of Gevurah, Mars. This is action. We need to back up our faith with action. Movement of some kind. Now, previously when we talked about how the books say you have to actually leave the house to go out and get the opportunities to manifest your magic, that you're not going to be able to just manifest something in your yard. And I said that that was BS because I have manifested things in my yard. Well, it all depends on how successfully you employ the higher laws. Sephiroths 1 through 4 trump number 5. So it depends on how strong your faith is. It depends on how successfully you've made your impression upon the subconscious mind as to whether you can get that to happen. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. If you just stay at home, well, you've cut a lot of your access points out. It'd be like the difference of shopping for something online and having to wait for it to be shipped to you, as opposed to just going to the store and picking it up. In which case, shopping online, you're going to have to wait a lot longer. So we want to back up our faith with action. Now, they don't have to be big actions. They can be as big or as small as you like them to be, as long as you feel it's moving you towards your goal. Obviously, the bigger the action, the more movement. But they don't have to be big actions. Plan on doing at least 5 actions. 5 for the Sephiroth of Gevurah. Now, these should be planned out ahead of time so that you can just go ahead and do them and keep the conscious mind out of the way as much as possible. Now, this isn't to say that opportunities won't be presented to you along the way through synchronicity. And obviously, when that happens, you're going to want to seize upon those opportunities. But that may not happen right away, so you're going to want to have your 5 steps of action planned out ahead of time. The combination of faith and action cannot be beaten, for it is the path of strength. And there really is no need for ritual magic to be able to employ this. You see people all the time have confidence in themselves or their abilities, and they back up what they want with action. They go out and make it happen. They're utilizing the path of strength. 4 plus 5 equals 9. Eventually, their faith and action will trickle down into Yesod and then manifest. Faith and action also leads directly into what we covered last lesson with force and form. Okay? Now, the lesser banishing ritual of the hexagram, the analysis of the keyword, LVX. Well, here's your X. And you can see how they cross Taparith into Netzach and Had. And Taparith is almost an entire video in of itself. But to try to simplify it real quick, it's your higher ideas, your higher self. It's what you have in your heart. So you want to make sure that everything coincides and complements the desires of your heart. Now, this X, it really isn't like a straight across X. It's more like this. It's more like 2 sideways V's. Now, just looking at the colors will tell you this. Okay? Blue of Hest and the yellow of Taparith equal the green of Netzach. And on the other side, the red of Gevurah and the yellow of Taparith equal the orange of Had. Now, you can use, as I said before, that Marsarian anger and aggression as your emotional force. You can bring Gevurah through Taparith into Netzach if you wish. But I'm always reminded of Ghostbusters, don't cross the streams. Because more of the same is going to be returned to you if you do that. More anger and aggression. It's going to be accompanied with something. And I told you that sometimes it's just not worth it. Now you may be wondering why, if everything has to start at the top of the tree and work its way down into Malkuth, why faith and action, part of X, would be last in LVX. The answer being it is and it is not at the same time. Because just doing a ritual in of itself is a step of action, and you have to have at least a little bit of faith in it. Otherwise, why are you doing it in the first place? It wouldn't make any sense. But it's placed last because it has to be an ongoing thing. You have to have more steps of action included, and your faith has to be ongoing. You have to set it and forget it, and keep that continuing certainty. They start higher up in the tree, they take a little bit longer to get to the bottom. You just got to keep it going. So to quickly recap before I go here, we want to impress our will upon the subconscious mind. We want to have faith. We want to back that up with action. We want to make sure it coincides with our true higher ideals and what's in our heart. And then we want to focus our force and our form so that our magic can manifest in Malkuth, in the kingdom, in the physical world. I hope you found this lesson helpful and insightful. And until next time, keep the faith. See you then.